I woke up this morning and I had to see Melvin Van Peebles' 1997 film, Classified History X. And I gotta tell you that of all the films I've seen this year, this is my favorite film. And it's my favorite film because one is history, and Melvin Van Peebles is giving us a history lesson, a lesson about Black films and its relationship to white films. See, as a Black filmmaker, we have a different responsibility than white filmmakers. We've been um, brainwashed and coaxed, and our minds been diluted with images of ourselves on television and film that doesn't portray us in the right light. It doesn't portray us as who we really are, what we do. Watching Classified History X brought up so many things in me this morning. Um, it's shameful what Hollywood and television did to us as young. Or I used to like Abbott and Costello, or even the Marx Brothers. When you look at it and you look at how they portrayed us, what we saw, what we internalized, the Little Rascals, I really loved that when I was growing up. But I didn't know what it was doing to me and my psyche and my mind and the images of the world around me. We just didn't know. But they knew all the time. They will disguise it and say, hey, this is just entertainment. But the images that Hollywood put out there about us, the images that the television studios, the images that they put out about us was so daggone negative and so hurtful and shameful. Because Melvin, when he's talking in History X, he's talking about a feeling he would get from going to the movies. And he wasn't really sure what that feeling was. He would come out the movies and he didn't know what it was. And then finally he put it together and realized that it was shame, right? He felt ashamed when he saw the images of Black men shucking and jiving and the white woman fawning over the Black man like we were some type of meat from a meat store, or the Black woman having to look up and choose these white partners in these films. It's terrible. It's terrible. So we have to really be mindful of what our kids watch. The Popeye cartoons, how they would draw us. My little sister, she used to love Popeye all the time. She loved it. But we were portrayed so terrible in these films. We didn't have kings and queens. They had us serving people and eating people, serving them to eat and eating them after we've been served. An image that comes to my mind is Lou Costello tied upon a stake and all these Black men around him about to cook him. We, as Black filmmakers, have a responsibility. Now, I'm telling you this, I want to say this. What I'm talking about, and what I'm saying, is not an absolute, this is how I feel, because I know there are Blacks who think differently. But it also goes back to the fact of why, as Black filmmakers, when we get that question that's asked, shall we go to school or not? Any Black, white, any filmmaker will tell you, you don't have to go to school to do film. That's true. But you have to go to school if you want a certain amount of prestige, if you want a certain amount of something that comes with being who you are and what you are, and saying that I paid the cost to be that. I didn't take the shortcut. Now, I'm not saying that just because you didn't go to school or school wasn't for you, that you took the shortcut. But I'm saying that our image as filmmakers have to be over and aboard the images of our white counterparts. Do you know, as a Black filmmaker or a filmmaker, and you didn't go to school and you're sitting at a table with 4 or 5 other filmmakers, and most times they're white, even though there's a huge presence of Black independent filmmakers, most of the filmmakers that you're going to see when you go to festivals and stuff, unless it's a specifically Black film festival, is going to be filled with white filmmakers. And you're sitting down and you're in a conversation and you're talking about film. Now, your film may be nominated, their film may be nominated, and you're sitting in a conversation and you're talking about film. And the conversation gets a little controversial. Start talking about images. And no one's talking about race, but they're talking about images and how you shoot, right? And everyone's throwing their opinions in. Inevitably, a white filmmaker, and I'm not, racist, I'm just telling you what my experience at the different festivals are. Inevitably, a white filmmaker, especially if you start to control the conversation or your film is up for a whole bunch of awards and there's not, it's going to say, hey, I went to New York Film Academy. I went to AFI. Right? They're going to bring up the fact that they have a degree. They're going to bring it up. And they're going to compare schools and compare notes and all that kind of stuff. Now, you may not have went to American Film Institute, and you may not went to New York Film Academy, you may not went to NYU, you may not have. But if you haven't been to film school, everything you say is be discounted. You're lucky. You just took the shortcut. You don't know, and they know you don't know certain things about the film history, theory, appreciation. They know you don't know because you didn't go to school. So you're doing it, and you're doing it, and you're doing it well. But you can't sit at the table with them and have a conversation. You won't be looked at as a peer. And now I'm listen. School ain't for everybody. I already know that, right? I went to school, because I would have these conversations, or I would meet people. One of my mentors, Fred Hudson, when you meet someone new in Fred's orbit, he would say, "Oh, this is so and so, and he has a master's in such and such." Or this is so and so, he has a bachelor's in such and such. And you're standing there and you say, "Well, I want to do that. I want to be that." And they're looking at you. You don't have the credentials. You don't even have the credentials to be in that conversation, right? School or no school, I say school, right? Study or no study, I say study. So let's look at Spike interviews and John Singleton interviews and Melvin Van Peebles interviews. Let's look at them. Let's listen to the history, because they are our teachers. And even if you don't have a formal education, you should have some. There's nothing worse than putting a weapon in the hands of someone who never used it. Because even though they pulling the trigger and the bullet's coming out, they don't know how to shoot. And the worst part is they don't even know that they don't know how to shoot. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you at the top.